So, in the last lesson, we did a really quick meditation, just a few minutes long. And so this time, let's do one that's a little bit longer. And we'll actually start off with our meditation and then we'll talk a little bit about it. So, this one is just going to be 5 minutes. So, it's just a little bit longer than the last one you did. And again, you don't want to do this while you're driving or operating any machinery. You want to find a place to sit where you can be in a comfortable yet erect posture, if that's comfortable for you. So let's begin the meditation. So that was a little bit longer. That was a 5-minute meditation. And let's talk a little bit about what's going on. Again, that was a fairly simple one, and we didn't do anything new in that one. We're going to start as we go along to add in some different kinds of things. But I wanted to talk about what we're doing and why the meditation is like this and why you're supposed to focus and come back again and again to the breathing. You know, what is that all about? Well, you're retraining your brain, and you're retraining your brain to stay in the present moment. Anyone who meditates like this has a very similar experience, often in that they find that their thoughts start going off pretty easily. And that's why, I say as we're going through, if you find your mind starting to wander, bring it back to the breath. And that's just something that we do. We start to wander and not be in the present moment. And so your brain is very used to doing that, and we're retraining it now. We're retraining it to stay in the present moment. We're retraining it to notice when it has wandered away and to come back. So that's part of what we're doing and what we've done so far. Now, as we get into some of the other meditations, you're going to find that we are training the brain not only to come back to the present, but also to be less reactive. We haven't really gotten into that part yet because we're taking it piece by piece here. So that's one of the things we're trying to do. Now, our brains are very easily conditioned. There's a whole science around how habits are formed. And sometimes people think, oh, habits take a long time to make a new habit. But actually, it doesn't take a long time. It just takes a couple of repetitions. As long as you're training the brain to do something little, habits are formed very easily. I mean, think of all the habits you have in your life every day, where you put your keys and how you drive to work and what you do when you wake up in the morning. I mean, these are all habits that got formed without you even trying to form them. So it actually can be very easy to form a habit. And your brain has a habitual way that it responds to the world around it. And so we're trying to retrain it, and eventually it becomes very easy, and it becomes your normal mode to be in the present and focus and not get so distracted. And that's a big part of what mindfulness meditation practice is all about. Now, the things that we learn to do while we're in meditation are not just while we're in meditation, but we're also wanting that ability to focus, and later on, as you'll see, the ability to be less reactive and so on. We want that to happen all the time, not just when we're practicing meditation. And that indeed is what starts happening. Your brain just starts responding to everything in that way, not just during the meditation session, which is really pretty handy. While we're talking about habits, I want to encourage you to start to make a habit of practicing meditation during our course. So, we'll obviously be doing the meditation sessions in the middle of the lessons, and we're going to have some practice outside of the lessons as well. And what you'll find is that if you make a habit of the practice outside of our lessons here, it will become easier and easier. So I often tell people to, see if you can have a place in your home or your office where you meditate, a particular chair. And now that you might not be able to do that while you're watching the videos, but if you're practicing on your own with the recordings, if you download them and just do them on your own, you can then do that. Find a place, a certain kind of chair, maybe even a certain time of day. It's not necessary, but that might help too. Because what happens then is your body, when you sit in the chair, and you do it every morning, at 7:30 before you start your day, let's say, and you sit in your chair, your mind and your body starts to have a habitual response. It goes, oh, here we are sitting in the chair at 7:30 in the morning. It must be time to settle down and be present and focus. And so you're training your brain and your body to react to a particular place and time and location. And that can be really helpful. So you don't have to do that, but it can be helpful. So besides our lessons here, as you start to do some of the homework and the exercises and meditate on your own, you might want to think about that, but you don't have to. You can really meditate anywhere as long as you don't have to have your eyes open. I mean, I meditate on airplanes. I meditate while I'm a passenger in a car. I meditate when I'm traveling, when I'm in a hotel room. There's all different places and times when you can meditate, as long as you can sit somewhere and close your eyes. Now, you can do it with the recordings. Eventually, I'm going to suggest that you try. You don't have to have the recordings. You can do this simple kind of meditation that we just did. You can do that on your own, right? You don't need the recording. Feel free to use the recording, but I just want to mention that if you're, out in the woods and it's a beautiful day and you want to sit on a rock and meditate, you can do that. You don't have to have the recording to do it. A few other things I want to say in this lesson before I give you some homework to go try. I want to make some disclaimers. So first of all, I'm not a medical doctor, nor am I a licensed counselor or therapist. So I'm going to talk about the research about health benefits, but you should always check with your doctor about anything, any special conditions you have, any questions you have. Also, as I mentioned, I'm not a licensed therapist, so if you are seeing a therapist, you may want to talk to your therapist about meditation. I do want to say one thing that is written about sometimes about mindfulness meditation, which is if you have PTSD, if you have some trauma events in your past, there are it's a very small number of people, but there are a small number of people for whom doing mindfulness meditation is really difficult. Now, let's talk about this for a minute. For all of us, doing mindfulness meditation can sometimes be uncomfortable. We're not comfortable, we're feeling agitated, we're restless, we're bored. All of that kind of stuff comes up, especially as we get into, doing it for a little bit more time than just a few minutes. That's perfectly normal. Everybody goes through that. But there's a very, very small percentage of people who have certain, as I said, past traumas or PTSD, that when they start to do mindfulness meditation, they pretty much go into a full-blown panic attack. So if that happens to you, you should stop and perhaps talk to your counselor or therapist. Mindfulness meditation, as I said, may sometimes be uncomfortable, but it should never be painful or really, really scary like that. And in a very small percentage of people, that can happen. In the years that I've been teaching, I've so far had that happen to one person that was in one of my in-person sessions, and we talked about it, and basically she decided she couldn't do mindfulness meditation at this time. So if you have a full-blown panic attack, just stop meditating and speak to a therapist or a medical professional. For the rest of us who don't have that kind of background, it's fine. It won't hurt you, and you should not be having a really strong reaction like that. So I just wanted to state that as a disclaimer. Okay, so now for some homework for you before we go into the next lesson and start doing some different and unusual things with our meditation, or at least unusual from what we've done so far. I would like you, if possible, to do a 5 minute or even a 10 minute or more, depending on what you're feeling, meditation, just like we've done so far. And so you can use the recordings for that. You could use, there's a 5 minute recording, there's a 10 minute recording, and there's a 20 minute recording that are all exactly what we've done so far, just a longer period of time where you're just, breathing, and when you get distracted, bring yourself back. So I'd like you to try one of those on your own, one of those recordings. Now just do the 5 or the 10, the 15 or the 20. There's 2 other recordings. There's a 30-minute and there's a body scan, it's called. Don't do those 2 yet because those are really different. They involve some different stuff and we haven't gone over those yet. So just do the 5, 10, 15 or 20-minute on your own. And see how it goes. And then after that, come back and we'll be ready for another lesson.